What's
Yeah.
happening?
What's
The
good?
83rd pleasure to, well, yeah, we already sort of met. But I love your music, straight up.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. I'm glad it's feeding you, brother. It comes from a real place, you
Yeah,
know?
like when I first heard Fight Club Pack,
Yeah.
when I heard that, I was just like blown away. And let's just break. What was your, let's just take it all the way back. What was your growing up? What jams were in your household? How important was music in your home?
So I'm glad you asked that. I was telling my girl this. Um, I remember some of my earliest memories were my brother and sister 10 years older than me, so them playing Bobby Brown, My Prerogative, while we like cleaning the kitchen and you know what I'm saying? And I want to rock with you, baby. You know what I mean? Oh, nah, I know and so, those early 90s joints and man, I had the Shaq Diesel, Motown Philly, all of that. So, and I grew up in church. So the backbeat was always
Mm,
strong, Black American backbeat. So, but then also too, my dad was a huge Motown fan. He had all the
okay.
vinyl. So, I knew all the words to the Temptation records when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. We'd be in the car singing a cappella to all the different breakdowns. So, and then I grew up playing drums in church. And so
Okay.
my musicality was at a place where I'm playing with other gospel, jazz, and hip hop musicians before I got into electronic music. So and I was my college's first percussion performance major. They developed the major around me. I was on the inaugural student. And so uh, and I was at Tony Montfort School of Drumming. I was one of his main students. And so having that background from like early into like teens into college was huge. Because when I got into electronic music, I never went to school for it, but I had an ear and I knew what I liked. So I didn't have the rules to tell me how to do something a
And
certain way.
that's good though.
Exactly. It was the best thing because I wasn't in the box. I could do
Right.
whatever I want. And so I had just enough information to know how to record. And from there, I just broke mad rules, but had this high musicality that was just like, oh, wow. And so I never looked back from that. I never tried to emulate. Actually, I hate the box. I hate rules because it just takes away from the unlimited potential of whatever happens in the moment. Most of my stuff is one take right there in the moment. Whatever's happening, I go off that. I believe that the present is God being present. So I'll just play off that.
That's dope. That's dope.
Mm.
So it's interesting. You're from Chicago, right? Your
I'm New York,
family?
but then I moved to Chicago. So I moved a lot. My family's working class, and we moved a lot. So I was born in Texas, Houston, Texas, actually.
Okay.
And so my family's from deep south, Mississippi and Texas. I moved to New York, upstate, when I was 7.
Okay.
I came up in New York, then I went to Chicago for a bit. I finished high school, started my music career, and I came back into New York to the city. And then I grew up in the city the last 20 or something, 17 years, most of my life in Brooklyn. So it was, most
Mm.
of my life was between Brooklyn and Harlem, upstate New York, the boroughs, really. I lived in Staten Island for a little bit, just a little bit, but mostly Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Bushwick, Cobra Street, stuff like that. So it
Wow.
was great because I had such a foundation of Black American gospel music, that's so soulful and so out of the way that they enslaved us, but we turned that into triumph. And so that's rooted deep in me, the soul. And then New York is New York. And then Chicago has a swing when it comes to ghetto house and Chicago house music and the blues players in Chicago. So I
Well,
got everything.
that's what I want to say. It's like it's a trip because like I almost feel like dance music has been colonized in a
Yeah,
way
absolutely.
by uh I want to say like media. Like if you talk to a lot of brothers and sisters, you know, they don't know that jungle was a black art form. They don't know
Right,
that house
right,
music was a black art form. Like
right.
it's not celebrated. It's not like we're not giving our young youth a choice. It's like, okay, yeah, we are originators of hip hop. yes, we are originators of dancehall. I get that, but house music in
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, so like when you say techno, people think Berlin. No
Right,
disrespect to Berlin,
right.
but techno is Detroit
Black.
and
Yes.
Chicago, and like yeah, because there was a time. It's a trip. There's a time in the early '90s that no hip hop record did not have a hip house track on it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You had
Mm-hmm.
KC Flight, you had Chub Rock, you had Latifah on her first album.
Yeah.
So dance music is so important to the Black community, but I almost feel like it's become taken over. I don't know if it's a British thing or a European thing. Where do you feel the disconnect has happened? But I feel like there's a resurgence of connection and Black people finding it again. But
I watched this and I actually did an article on Sermon about it. It was Chicago Blues documentary. And there was a
okay,
young BB King, BB Muddy Waters was in there. And they were talking. And this is what I feel exactly what happened with electronic music. They mentioned this band called the Rolling Stones. And he said, they asked him about it. You heard about those kids, the Rolling Stones? And he said, yeah, yeah, yeah. They like what I do. They're trying to do it. Yeah, yeah, this seems like some nice boys. Copy and paste that. I think the Globe has been, I know the Globe has been gutturally inspired by the Black expression that comes through our fight, comes through our love, comes through our resilience. And they make their version of that. And that's exactly what happened with electronic music is it is Black. It doesn't get any Blacker than the ways that we dance and play with electronic music. And so you see um, uh, I think white kids, our kids who maybe are more open, because when you get to like maybe the overt races who are moving in there, they're not going to really touch that, as much. They might go into. They are still being influenced, whether they know. I mean, Elvis just jacked, other brothers,
right,
stuff like that. But they might kind of stay in their country, whatever box or whatever. But I think there's some. What I mean by that is I see more liberal whites who are more open to what's the Black man doing over there, what's the sister doing over there,
right,
and they're more open to be inspired by it. And you see a lot of these, Daft Punk. I think the record was called like Teachers or something they did, and DJ Sluggo, who I managed on Sermon 3, they mentioned he's one of their teachers. The world knows Daft Punk. The world should know DJ Sluggo on the same kind of level because he's literally the root of where they come from. Sluggo's from the South Side of Chicago. That's my man. It doesn't get real into him, right? But they say to him, teachers. So you see that I think internationally, where there is more of a wanting and connection and not an overt racism like denial, to where
right.
they'll I mean, say Beatles, Rolling Stone, Berlin. These people will see our Black experience and be wanting to do their version of it. So
Let me ask you this though, in the sense of in our homes growing up as teenagers or young people,
yeah,
if you say you like house, even in our own hood, in our own community,
there
it
wasn't banging with it.
seemed, huh?
There wasn't banging with it.
Yeah, they're seeing it's like, yo, that's some white people shit. I'm just saying, like, if you like
Mhm.
punk or whatever. So I wonder, like, I'm just saying, like, how do we, and I guess that the way we do it is to bring more people of color and more Black people into dance music and dance
Yeah,
culture and let them know that it's theirs. It's just
yeah.
like, like, don't ridicule your own people for expressing themselves in something that we originated. How do we even get our own people to know that we originated?
I think it goes back to us not knowing our own history. You
Yeah,
know, we're giving it to them, and it's us. We don't even know it's. But it's one thing. Black people were so resilient. We were creating new genres every 10, 15 years. We're
you're
growing.
right.
So it's like, as soon as we, jazz. Some people, white people do jazz. Obviously, came from us, right? But then by the time we got into jazz, you're going into blues. And then white people start doing blues. We came to and Rolling Stone, Sister Rosetta Thorpe. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're doing it, and then we're developing that blues into funk, into hip hop, and so mass Black culture is catching it then. After white people have already appropriated, and we're moving on to the next thing. And it's like, no, 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 we're this. We just did this 20 years ago, but then, on a mass scale, and then it became whitewashed. It became co-opted. I mean, if you think about even like Michael Jackson 5, that became the Osmonds. If you talk about New Edition, that became New Kids on the Block. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel you. No, and with house music or dance, acid house, that became New Order's next sound. You
Yes.
know what I mean? What's interesting is my mother, you said a word that she always would use, and that's co-opted. And
Yeah.
my mom used to tell me back in the day, she's like, look, if you want to be a creative African American person and you want to create outside of the stereotypes that society says you're supposed to be in, you have to
Mm-hmm.
go to Europe. She's like Josephine Baker had to go to Europe. Paul
Yeah.
Robeson had to go to Europe.
Yeah.
Miles Davis had to go to Europe. Quincy
Yeah.
Jones had to go to Europe. It's almost
Mm,
like we have to go to Europe. We
mm,
get popular there,
right.
then it's back here. We can come back here. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just an interesting thing. It's just like dance,
Yeah.
like house music was
Yeah.
being made in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
Detroit. They were making techno, but then it goes to Europe, then it comes back here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
now,
saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
I do feel exactly what you're saying. Even obviously Jimi Hendrix had to go to Europe and can come back and be celebrated. But yeah, no, that's a really good point that it got crafted in the Midwest. Obviously, we know Berghain and words, but now you see also with the internet, honestly, and with knowledge and us being like, to me, it's like the curious cat. Cause Ski Beats?
Mm-mm.
Ski Beats
Oh,
did a
the
beat.
DJ? I mean, the producer?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's my brother, man.
All
So
right.
we in-house together at Blue Rock. And the reason we started working together, this is like 10 years, 11 years ago, about 2011,
You mean
2015.
from original flavor? Like he used to be down with Damien Dash,
Yeah.
Stevie. You did
Mhm.
Camp Low and all that, right? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Stevie. Right.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
dope.
I was the only other producer on 24-hour karate school, like
Okay.
fleet there together in the studio. I mean, like over, nothing like that. I'd be like in the downstairs on the bean bag, waking up because we just chopping all night. You know what I'm saying? He find a space crash. We wake up in the morning, keep just making records. All we did was make records. And the reason I even was doing that with them was he heard this bootleg that I did. It was an unofficial remix with 30 Projectors, Bjork, and Erica Badu, right? And I was
Mm.
modulating the sound in this electronic way, and then I had this backbeat in the eye, and he was so curious about the electronic stuff. He was like, he did an interview while we were at the studio a couple days later, and he pointed to me. I'm a young kid, at the time. He's like, that's my sensei, that kid in the corner. He's so humble and so open and wanting to know because he's a student in the game. He's like,
Hmm.
yo, what's this modulation? And that curiosity, and that we be on the internet. And then, if I didn't know something, I could YouTube it and we're seeing a little 15-year-old kid, that's saying, like, this is how I move this LFO. And so there's this cross of information and curiosity that is also opening up electronic music. Because now we're at Blue Rock with all those Rockefeller cats, and we're making this hybrid of hip hop and electronic and dance and rock. And I'm playing electric guitar. There's a record for me, if you go deep enough on the internet, you could find me, Ski Beats, and Locksmith. It's called Metabolic. And I'm playing electric guitar on it, just breakdown and
Dope.
everything like that. Yeah, and it has, so all those, there's no rules and all
Yeah.
barriers are being broken. And we're insanely creative as a people. And so we have such a skill set. So I just see all those things now being taken back, and we're
Hmm.
not finding ourselves in these lanes of these stereotypes of total who and how we should walk, talk, act, and express ourselves.
So true. I mean, there's so many Black electronic creators doing it right now too. Like, have you
Yeah.
familiar with Dirty Bird? I think
Yeah.
that's how. Yeah, the stuff he's doing. I love Stem Lines, the stuff they're
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so like there is an underground with Black creative electro, yourself
Yeah.
included. Like it's just like it makes me want to dance. I mean,
Mm.
who are you listening to that is young and Black and just changing the sound waves right now?
Oh, man, who am I listening to that's young and Black and changing the sound waves? I mean, some of my influences, I would say, that have two people that came to mind just now. One is Dream Crusher. It's a harsh noise artist from New York.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mastered their Grudge 2 album on Corpus a few years back. I went to their live show. I mean, now it's 5 or 6 years ago, and I walked out a different man. I walked in one way and I walked out different. I mean, all lights are off. It's like being stalked by a panther in the jungle. You don't know where they're coming. And it's just so raw and real and unapologetically harsh. So, you'll hear, because of the scene in New York and how art is expression of life and there's no separation, you'll hear that heaviness in my music. Also, like homies like Ace and MoMA, Ready, Ace Mo. Those are guys that I've thrown parties with, are people I consider friends and I know on a personal level. And they they do not play when it comes to dance music. And they're backbeat. And Ace or MoMA Ready also play drums in church and stuff like that. And Ace is a genius as well. So I like Izzy Cream. Izzy
Okay.
Iceman. He had a record with Ace called This Is Not a Drill. Man. And it brought that drum and bass, that feel, that jungle feel. And and he's rapping over it, you know what I'm saying? This is how we actually have 2 records on. I have a full length coming out next year, nobody knows about. And he came to
They
the
know
house.
now.
They know now. That shit's crazy. Dumb shit. I'm talking about he pulls up to my crib, one take, just and then I'm just like, go. And then I just went editing for the next 2 months. And I just and it's a crazy ass record. So I just love that unapologetic roar. My last name is Lion. Zion Lion is my government. So just if you out there in the jungle, you know what I'm saying?
So Zion Lion's your government.
Yes, sir. I changed my name with the government a while back.
All right, awesome. I love your name, by the way.
Thank
That's a
you.
dope name. It's a
Thank
powerful name. That's a
Thank you.
dope name.
I
All right, I
received
got
it.
another question. To me, I mean, it's sort of just like, well, we already said. All right, this one.
Okay.
How did you feel when Kwame Ture's son
Mm,
said it was cool for you to use a
mm,
sample of his
mm,
father?
mm, mm. I felt like everything I had been through was worth it. That's the first thing that came in my mind. Like the amount of all the things I went through to start Sermon 3, for us to be able to unapologetically tell our story. Kwame Ture, formerly Stokely Carmichael, is a big influence of mine. I will watch his videos and learn. I think he has an amazing brain. And I think he has just his tenets for revolution, the way he moved and walked and talked. I just, and so I shot it in the dark. And his sons are so humble and so cool, and was with it. And what was cool about it, when they okayed it, they didn't just say cool. They was like, they broke down the record. They're talking about the backbeats and the West African fusion with doing over in America, and where we use his father's samples. And I was just like, and they were over the moon about it. So that made me feel like I'm not alone. That made me feel like I'm in my purpose. That helped just confirm a lot of things. Just like having fought for so long, a lot of times feeling like, I'm waving a flag by myself, felt like I had support. And I felt honored. Felt honored.
It's like Kwame, his spirit, is here with us right now
Yeah.
because it's like us having this conversation is liberation,
Mm-hmm.
it's celebration.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time I want to say in high school, where
Yeah.
Kwame was coming to speak at UCLA, and my mom said, "Yo, you're not going to school today. I'm taking you to UCLA, and we're
That's
going to
dope.
hear." Yeah, I heard him speak at least 2 to 3 times growing up,
Wow.
and I mean, it was like I dropped out of high school twice,
Wow.
but when I went to Berkeley High, I was in a after school program that was run by the APRP that helped
Mm.
young African American and people of color go from high school into college, and so all the
Yeah.
brothers and sisters from the APRP, they looked after me, and
Wow.
yeah, Kwame would come and speak, and so to be here now and we're having this conversation, this is what he would want. This is what he spoke
Mhm.
for. It's
Yes.
this is because we've made choices to be here. You could create for people and get all this money or whatever.
Mhm.
I could cover this kind of
Yep.
music and get this
Talk
and do
about it.
that. But we've made choices to be
Yep.
ourselves and to uplift,
Yep.
what I'm saying, each other and our community. And
Yep.
this is the liberation that he spoke of, and we're having it right now.
Just
And
right.
with the music you're creating, like when I heard like that's how I knew I already loved your music. But when I was like the brother Samuel, I was like, ah shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like
if I'm sitting in Libya in the deserts and I'm doing any research with capital and labor without ever having heard of Karl Marx, I will come to the same conclusion that he did. That any time capital seeks to dominate labor, there'll be a ruthless, uncompromising struggle on the part of labor until it comes to crush capital and dominate it. This is a fact. My history demonstrates that. We came here as chattel slaves for centuries. We fought and fought and fought until we crushed it. Now we're just slave of the wage, and now we've got to rise up and crush that one.
Because it is intentional in those choices.
yeah.
And you could take the bag and run any kind of way with it. And it could be at a demise, or it could, be at, our promise and growing our community and choosing to fight.
It's true.
And our weapons, there's this verse that talks about the return of Jesus, and that he has a sword come out of his mouth. And I think of that as us. Our weapon is our mouthpiece.
It's true.
And it's
Word, sound, and power.
It spells, baby.
So,
there's this quote from Paul Robeson.
mm-hmm.
He says, every artist must decide to fight for slavery or for freedom. And I've made my choice. The artist must elect to fight. Yeah, the artist must elect to fight for freedom or for slavery. Now I've made my choice. And that's actually on my Instagram page because it is intentional. We can play stupid all we want. Or there's a lot of social conditioning we're not even aware of that we carry. I know, brother, you know it too. Because they've said we should walk, talk, move a certain way, and this is what it means to be Black. A lot of times that's at our demise. That's out of whether it's out of profit for us to be their work mules, profit for us to be their sexual mules, profit for us to just not to feel human, so we don't fight for humanity for ourselves and what we deserve. A lot of things that we've been told that we are is not human.
Let me ask you this. I agree with everything you just said. Can you tell the listeners and tell me, was there a moment, or how did you decide that you weren't going to be the stereotype that society said you were supposed to be, or what a Black man was supposed? When did you say, fuck that? Or even just your own community, whoever, when you were willing to say, I'm going to be
me? The first thing, I think one of the first things that come to mind is like, why am I doing this? I remember, okay, this is gonna be a long way to get the answer, but I was looking at an old report card. I was fourth grade, and the teacher was talking about why my grades were so low. And my mama said to her, well, because I was born William McNair. That's what was on my birth certificate. She said, William has had a tough time because of the kids drawing blackface in his class. And somebody, I forget his name, called him a nigger, right? And I remember at 7, before that, the first time I ever got called nigger. I remember, dancing on the floor one time with some homies, and this white girl was there, and she thought I was trying to steal out of her purse. I remember the first time police put guns between my eyes. I remember the time that cops assaulted me. I remember the other time that a cop told me they were going to kill me. I remember the time that the FBI CIA put out a false gang charge they're developing against me because I was fighting for liberation. Still there. Still, I just know what are we doing? We outside. So it's like there's through my whole life, I've had no choice. You know, that's what Paul actually said too. I've had no choice, not chosen. And so I can't detach how I feel from what comes out. Music to me is based on what I feel and what my experience is. So like there was times where I would go to studio. Well, not really even, because when I had the mic in front of me or the drums, it was always spiritual. It was a direct application of what I'm feeling. So I'm singing and I'm playing and I'm dancing based on what my environment is, based on where I'm at the time. And so there's this direct correlation of I refused, though you might have called me nigga, show blackface, try to get me locked up, X, Y, and Z. We could do a list for as long as, you know, I chose to in those moments to remind myself, you're a man, you're a human. Don't forget that. There was times where I was crying and I had to get myself to a place, I had to talk myself back into my humanity. Like, you're not an animal, you're a man. You're not, you are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What happens when I sit in front of the mic? Oh, this shit gonna bang. This shit is like this shit gonna bang. Like this, I can't do that and then go make a pop record about girl, I love you. That's not my experience. I'm not married. So that's like, you know what I'm saying? And as change, as I fall in love, and as you feel more of that. I'm talking about love more recently, as I've learned love in that way. But that's what it is to me, man. Like that's something that like, and one of the reasons that happened to me, honestly, straight up, is I had so many deals on the table that never went through. I never got the chance. Like the pop culture wheel, you know, praise to Allah, praise to God. The pop culture wheel never had a chance to consume me. I was supposed to sign Rock Nation twice. I was supposed to sign with, I could tell you every label that the day I was supposed to go in, it didn't happen. I believe that was divine protection, you know, because I worked with them. But at the end of the day, then I was back in the hood and I'm still in my surroundings and I'm seeing the state of me and my people. So I'm doing Missy Elliott remix, Mariah Carey remix, working with X, Y, and Z, Tinashe, but then I'm back in the hood. So when I didn't have the glitz and glamour of that as well, right? To just, you know, and I'm not looking around, I might have it in the taste, but then I would go back to sleep with myself. I would still take the train. I would still 10 tones down on Culver Street and Broadway, you know? And so I'm speaking to the hood, to the state of my people, to the state of the actual people. Know where you can find me on Atlantic and Nostrand.
Word.
It is. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what club I be doing door at. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
So that's my priority, you know. And I just, you know, when other artists get off and they feel like, because these suits or these capitalist crackers or whoever they are, because it could be our people too.
That's true.
Look like us too. Like
that's true.
Throwing us over the bridge. You know, my thing is like, no. No, like what's our value system? We don't need to chase money, ISIS, celebrity, and all these things that has been the demise of us. We need to have peace of mind first. Because first of all, that's freedom, peace of mind, and then resources for food, water, shelter, and things that we need to complete our missions on this earth. So, you know, that's really what got me there, the argumentation of all of that and deciding, you know, and seeing my environment and saying, nah, I'm a fight. I'm not, that's what a sellout to me. I never have to bend over to rise. I never have to compromise who I am or my community or myself to get to where I need to be. And
I agree with you, man. I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. It's like, man, it's like, whoa. What was the creative process for making your new record, Crush City?
I'm glad you asked that. So boom, it was during quarantine.
Okay.
And I'm a very much believer of you have what you need right now. So boom, like there was times that I wanted XYZ to do this project, XYZ to do this music video, and I'm like, damn, I got like $50. Hey, I don't got a budget, but anybody want to collab on something? Can figure out. I post it on social. End up being a dope video. What I need, right? Or I might be like my mama would talk about how my Mima would make crazy miracles Christmas. Like, I don't know how I made this, but just enough flour. That mentality of what I have right now, I'm gonna work with and become my tool set was Crush City, because I ran a studio called I had a place called Sound City, which was a wonderful studio in New York. A lot of different people worked there. I had one of the biggest rooms on the floor, was loving it. Boom, quarantine happened. Man, ain't nobody booking time. I shut down the studio. I had the small room in my apartment. So I had to put a bunch of shit in storage. I had really nowhere to move in that room. So I had like a computer, I have analog gear because I'm an engineer, just enough analog gear, and I'm stepping over wires and squeezing my 6 foot 200-pound ass behind behind the desk to work.
Right.
That's what I'm working with at the time. That goes back to how my grandma could make miracles, or how, okay,
Yeah.
this video with a $500 budget, right? Boom.
Let's do it.
I'm not going to stop recording. But so Crush City came out of a place where I'm a player, right? I play all rhythm instruments, drum, guitar, keys, bass, synth. I didn't have no room in that room to play nothing. So I did everything in Crush City based on editing on my keyboard. Everything was micro edits and chops.
Wow.
Everything was in iPod earphones, no monitors.
Wow.
And my literally laptop keyboard, I chopped everything post micro.
That's crazy. Because it sounds so big.
Yeah. Yeah. And a big part of that is 20 years of experience. So I'm routing, 16 channel. I have the Dangerous 2 Bus Plus, the 16 channel joint of that. I have old school pre's, old school compressors. I didn't have no room,
Right.
but I had those like on a desk with, and I got to the place where I do all my recording, right? Just
Crazy.
Like, yeah. So to me, like, I'm like, well, this is how most people listen to it. So I'm just going to get it first. So I'm like, what am I even? This is what you hear. This is what I hear. So boom, I plugged that joint in, and I didn't have the room for nothing else. So it's a big record. I'm a mix engineer and a mastering engineer, like I said. So big records and pushing gains is part of my bloodline, part of my experience. So it's going to hit big, but everything was done as far as like the actual writing the record. Everything was done literally copy, boom, boom, all micro edits. And I was like,
crazy.
Thank you. And one thing I like to do, because it's been so long, is I like to switch that up. So if I did a whole album, like Rise was one of the albums I did after Again I, was called Rise. And that whole thing was done off drum samplers. And not my Ableton wasn't working at the time. So I turned off the speakers because the delay was fucking with me. So I was like, well, I would turn off the speakers and just drum with crazy sounds on the sampler. Then I would turn it back on, hear what it was, and configure it into something. And that became Rise. So I lean into the things that I don't have, and I'll create projects based on that conception.
Wow. All right, I'm going to step back with this question. Okay. So you talk about, I wouldn't say regrets, but you talk about you could have went a pop way. It's like basically what it is because you've been around the dinners or the big studios, and you have friends that got those deals. And it's like you didn't get that, but looking at everything you have, do you feel blessed now that you didn't get those things and those deals didn't come through? Because who knows if that would have took you down a negative, like with the bling and whatever. It's just like looking at the machine of popularity or whatever the machine is, the capitalistic way of making music, but just knowing that like what you did get and how it's empowered you to be who you are today. And like when you look at certain people that might have got it, but they're not happy, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, I was literally just talking about this yesterday. I remember going up to, I think it was Sony ATV Publishing. So I had a bunch of homies that signed with them on the upper West Side. Boom. And so I'm independent, right? But again, these labels are still flying me out. I'm still like, okay, we're gonna do this deal, but I still got me. So I walk in that bitch, and the spirit is low. People are upset. Everybody I'm talking about want to get out their deals. People cheating on each other, all kind of crazy. How y'all choosing to live? The spirit of the place chose something beneath what people deserve. And I remember being there and being able to give the gift that I have, but because I've chosen my value system being the best version of myself to myself and everybody around me, I was so thankful. I wasn't caught up in that wheel. of like
Yeah.
this community-minded creativity, like creativity through committee that also is, what's the word? It's like desperate. It's like desperate
Mm.
for a hit, desperate for validation.
Yeah.
Desperate.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm looking around and I was like, oh, we were lied to. We were told that the letters is success. So if you sign with RCA, you would sign, you know, if you were
Capital.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, BMG, then that means you got it. No, baby. I know a lot of my homies who are there and want to get out their deal because what's happened there isn't it isn't busting, you know. It's like the things that doesn't matter what the name of the place is, the culture of the place is what really matters. That's why Code Nation is so important. That's why Sermon is so important. It's like, what's our ethics? What's the reason we're doing what we're doing, you know? And then we power that. We can't fall in love with the idea of something that's actually at your demise. You could be on with Sunny ATV, but if you feeling small because how the execs are making you feel, what's the point? And so
So
I
true.
learned that. I learned that lesson. I am grateful. There's no red tape at Sermon. I run it. So what are we doing? Run it. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
Direct. What are we doing? And
It's true.
so often we've had to ask permission to do what's naturally in us when it comes to our creativity. I'm not with that. I'm with artists and everybody being able to strike without having to ask, you know. Do
So
the thing
true.
that you thinking you feeling without having to check with some suit that's not even from your hood.
That's true. That doesn't represent what you represent, that hasn't lived your life. You know
Talk
what I'm
about
saying? That can't fully, because it's a trip. Honestly, on the real line, on the real Zion,
yeah.
on the real, I knew you before I met you. I know you without even knowing you, but our lives are, there's so many different levels that they intersect on. I mean,
I
and
feel that.
so it's just like, yeah, man, like, yeah, it's just so many
I
different
can tell
levels.
just from the Pac story. I'm like, oh, okay, let me hold up, OG. Let me salute because I'm seeing just the same thing. You've been through the machine, you've seen all YZs, and you decided, I see you, oversee you, bro. In the see you.
Yeah, I'm still, it's like, yeah, man, it's like, yeah, it's just so many. All right, I got a question for you. If you had to pick 3 of your songs, put them in a time capsule for 60 years, for 60, what 3 songs would they be? And why would you pick those songs? You're froze. Yeah, there you
I've
go.
made thousands of records. Man, I've made thousands of records. That's tough. 3 songs to put in. So I will say this. I love all my records differently. They're like my children for different reasons. So I don't put other, so they all spoke to whatever they need to speak to. But I think the thing that you're saying is important. Like, what would you put in a time capsule though to say for 60 years from now? That's a really dope question. The first thing I go with my gut, the first thing is Still Black. It's a record that's on the Resurrection album, which came out in 2019. And the verse goes, I guess I'm still black, huh? I guess you still whack, huh? Yeah, yeah. You know, and it talks about my experience as it doesn't matter. I found that it didn't matter how helpful I was, how much I was going to do the right thing. You see the negative associations with black because of my build, because of my confidence. And a lot of times people will throw you under the bus or put you in a place of not feeling human, them feeling terrified of you because of their negative association with black. And so I put it on my neck. So I put it on my neck. You know, it says black on my neck. I don't know if you can see
Yeah, I
it.
can see it. I see it.
Yeah,
Respect.
I put black on my neck. You know, I wear my shit proudly, you know? And so, but it was coming to terms with that. It was like, oh, I see I see you see the stereotype, but I know who I am. I know who I am. I know all the best parts of my heritage, of everything that I am, and the best parts of stereotype that are true about me. What's up? You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
It's like that. What's up? You know what I mean?
What's up? That's what's up.
You know, so that's a beautiful thing. Is celebrating our blackness, celebrating my identity, celebrate us as black men, celebrate every part of us. You know, that should be celebrated within us. So still black is dope. Two more time capsule. God. Ooh, you know one record I'll do is one off 83 Edits.
Okay.
83 Edits. I did a record where I sampled Shy Girl and I put Crime Mob over it.
So what Crackle you
Stilettos.
bucker?
I did the
Crackle.
stilettos. We rocking stilettos. We
All
rocking
right.
stilettos. You gotta check that record.
All right.
But that to me speaks a lot about the combination of the hood and electronic music. And
True.
you know what I mean? And the Black American South is a powerful thing. And you know, she up in the street, up in the club. There's that.
Well, no. It was like the South. I mean, because the South is us. And what I mean by that is that we started in the South, and then through white supremacy, they call it migration, but it was, we were being terrorized in the South. So
Absolutely.
we moved to New York, we moved to Chicago, we moved to Texas.
LA.
We were being terrorized in Louisiana and Texas. So we moved to LA. So it's like, I mean, because, you know, it's like, but then they pit us against each other. So it's like, you had the blacks that moved to the north look down on the brothers and sisters in the South. But there's something about, like, I lived in Georgia and I lived in Savannah. And so there's something about being in the South that I was listening to Little John, and he was saying something the other day. He said the reason why the South is winning because they create music where they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they just, it's a certain freedom. And then even if you go with electronic, I mean bass music, and you look at Two Live Crew, and you look at the Atlanta sound, and you look at like the Memphis sound and their contributions to hip hop. And it's a trip because it's like even in the 90s, there was a time that the early 90s that anything that was Southern, all the Southern ads in the source were looked down upon. You know what I mean? Nobody. So the source would take like Master P's money, but they wouldn't review none of his records. But then over time, that became Cash Money, No Limit. That became the sound. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but I just know the South is so important to who we are. And it's like,
what you're
it's
saying,
the foundation.
It's the foundation, exactly. You know, I love the correlation you said between Master P and then becoming, you know, Cash Money, and how we all, and you know, Memphis and Tommy Wright getting his flowers. You know, he's on the Beyonce album. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know.
It's like, cause like, dude, the contributions, it's like without the South, it's just like it's holding it down. I mean, I was lucky enough. I mean, I didn't know it, but I was at the Source Awards, I guess in 1995 or 96, when Suge called out Puffy. I was like, actually was in the, like, near the front row. So that same night, that was the night that Outkast got booed. And that's the night when Andre said to the crowd, he's like, what, you don't have no love for us? Or something like that. And he's like, yo, the South has something to say. You know, you treating us like we're just like bringing a whack demo to the party, basically. He's like, yo. And from that night, they took hip hop over. And that's when Outkast was just like, nah, I was like, and it was like, it was like, those are two things. It was like, you had the Biggie and the Death Row moment, but what really stuck out to me was Outkast just saying like, yo, we have something to say, and we're gonna say it, and we're not your little like country cousins. You know what I'm saying? So,
and you can, the way you told that story, like you could hear I could rehear the conviction in Andre 3000 Three Stacks voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you don't got no love for us? You're
Yeah.
supposed to be my brothers and sisters. What's up? And you said from that night over, that day, they took that shit over.
They took it over, and they never let it go. And it's because I can't really put it into words, but it goes. You know what it is? It goes to what you were saying earlier. It gives me chills. I feel the South. It's just like soul food. It's just like we had to take the scraps and then we turned it into a cuisine. You took the equipment you had and you turned it into Crush City. It's like, the South had, look, we don't have, because there's no, with all the hits that come out of the South, there's not one major label that's based in the South. They don't have Def Jam. They don't have, they didn't have like relatively certain sounds. It's like, so they took what they had and they've turned it into the Memphis sound. Key Glock is doing its thing. You have Young Dog. You have all these young brothers and sisters that have turned, they're like, fuck that, we're gonna do it ourselves. And in a way, it's like, it's a little divergence, but we are the original punks. And what I mean by that is we had DIY spots, we had juke joints because, you know what I'm saying? We had to have them. We had the chitlin circuit because we had to have it. So before there was a Black Flag touring all over, we were doing it. We've always been independent.
Yes, exactly. Because what other choice did we have?
We didn't have any choice.
Exactly. So we're gonna work with what we got, and we're gonna turn your scraps into soul food. And we're gonna, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna turn, not having equipment into beatboxing. Okay, I'm gonna use my mouth here. What's up? You know what I mean? I will not stop. I will not stop. I will figure out a way to. I'm gonna create. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna laugh, and I'm gonna love this life with what I've got. And that is the most powerful thing about the Black experience.
So true. So true. So, what does a day of Black celebration look like and sound like to you?
Yeah, look, for me, it's waking up and choosing gratitude. Honestly, that's me waking up and choosing gratitude because, when I do walk out in my hood and I see some of the conditions that we're in, including all of us, it's easy to get low, and so I choose the moments that bring my spirit up. I choose the way people could go into the beauty salon and pop shit all day. I go around the corner and I see back, be like, yo, come back. I choose the moments when I say some bottles always talk about the way I walk. You know what I mean? You walking like alone and shit. I'm like, cause I do. What's up? I choose those community moments, and I choose the moments, being able to run sermon online and like seeing, things take flight in a natural way. I mean, that's without any ad money. That's without fake views. That's people and being able to connect and with people on a genuine level. That, it gives me a sense of peace and joy. I see the peace and joy when my girl pulls up in a hoodie and she's from Tigray, Ethiopia, and she's in her bag with her work and freeing her people and having ideas and making, Tigray spaghetti, those things. And connecting the diaspora, Blacks, Americans to Africans on the continent. We're all Africans, so Africans in America. So those moments of, of connection, these things that we have every day, I believe heaven is meant for now. I believe I'm not waiting for a chart placement. I'm not waiting for a certain amount of followers or money to choose my happiness. I wake up and I choose gratitude with what I got, and that's joy. You can't take that away from me. I got it.
So true.
Whether you show up or not, I'm here. Whether you show up or not, I'm here.
So true. Wow, that's deep. It's like, what do you do when you were in New York? What did you do for your mental health? We've lived in a really, like, do you meditate? Do you not drink? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, that's a good, the listeners might not know. I got myself out of New York for a little bit. I skated. I'm in a undisclosed location right now because it's like that. But keep it like that. But what I do for my mental health in New York, I don't smoke or drink, be honest. You know what I'm saying? Not regularly. If I feel like, hey, it's a function, I'm celebrating, or maybe it's some really good za or something like that, you know, but like as a regular part of my lifestyle, I'm plant-based, alkaline, you know,
I
I work
feel you.
my body. Yeah, man. We all
Because I just want to interject. I mean, I haven't drank for over 3 years, and
wow.
it's a poison. It's a
Yes,
poison,
absolutely.
and it's a trip that if you go like in the hood, in any hood in America
Yeah.
or anywhere really, but let's just say the hood, why is it we don't have any fresh fruit or produce, but we
Come
have
on.
fast food? Why is it it's not promoted that we're
Right.
drinking fresh juice, but there's a liquor store on every corner? Why is
Yep.
it there's a white Jesus and then there's a
Mm-hmm.
church, a black church that promotes a white Jesus on every
Mm-hmm.
corner? And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is like we can't, how can we like how can we strive to be our best self if we're depressed because we're hungover, or it's
Mm-hmm.
because we're smoking cool cigarettes, or just
Mm-hmm.
things that are destroying us? And it's like it's insidious because it's like
Mm-hmm.
alcohol is so linked in. It's like, oh, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
meet a partner, you go out and get drunk. You want to celebrate
Exactly.
graduation, you go and get drunk. But it's destroying. You get married, oh,
Yeah.
everybody gets drunk. But it's like it's not, alcohol doesn't make you smarter. It
Right.
doesn't make you more of a revolutionary. It doesn't
Right.
make you a
Come on.
kinder person. You know what
Right.
I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's just, I just feel in the Black community, the relationship that it's that we have with alcohol in the Black community
Yeah.
is really uncool. You know what I'm saying? So
No, yeah, you're right. Our relations are our relationship as an overview. Our
yeah,
relationship with alcohol, food,
yep,
uh, uh, smoking, all that
yep,
things that are killing us, um, has been one where it's like we have so much potential as a people,
so
and
true.
you know, and it's like, what are we making cool? What are we putting our name behind? It was important for you to say what you just said. There's not enough brothers saying that. Everybody, you know, we're linking cool with going to Popeyes, not linking cool with eating mangoes, you know. But you eat
You,
mangoes, brother, and you're gonna be
that's
out.
way cooler than Popeyes. That's way cooler.
Right, right. You know what I'm saying? And so, yes, why the question, why is there Popeyes on every corner of my hood, but there isn't alkaline options, right?
You
And
know,
because it goes back to capitalism, and
it does.
it goes back to control. And so why can't, because we're spending just as much or more. So don't tell me we don't got the bread for it. McDonald's expensive. I don't know last time you been to McDonald's, $10 for a meal. So
Yeah,
you could go and get, you know, avocados and rice and or quinoa instead, you know, and chickpeas and eat
yeah,
vegetable and less, right? So it's about a switch in mindset, and also, you know, us understanding that they're not our savior, they're not our ally. These capitalist corporations and all the propaganda that's going to kill us is not your friend, they're your enemy. So they're
true,
gonna frame the devil don't come looking like the devil. The devil come looking like a bad bitch.
true. No, you're
So
right.
So it's going to, yeah. Once you take that mask off, it's like, whoa, that's what you were doing the whole time. They put these things on our community killers because it wasn't our natural. My grandma from Mississippi would eat field peas, black eyed peas, you know, red beans, and collard greens, saw stuff in the earth.
Yeah,
So you living better, you feeling better. They put those things, and they're not. And think about it, right? They're not in the same amount in white neighborhoods.
no, they're
So
not.
East Side, man, they got the best fresh food. They got the Whole Foods, but they also got the organic markets. And so why don't you got that? We got to ask
True.
ourselves because they don't give a fuck about you.
It's
They
true.
heard that you like chicken, nigga. So what's
Yeah,
up? And it's gonna kill you. And guess what? You go to their hospital, run the bill, keeps us in service. So
I,
we got to take our independence with our own mindset, and it takes brothers and sisters like us actually putting us on the game and talking about it and not trying to save no face, straight no chaser. It is that's what it is, and that's why the reasons I left. And you know what I had for breakfast this morning, thank God. And it came from the earth, man. Like there's mango trees out here. There's baby bananas out here. But I've been in my hood. This is new to me. I've left America once. It was for my brother's wedding a long time ago. So this is the first time I ever left on my own. But I realized, man, this shit was $400 away. Man, I've spent $400 in so many ways that I can't remember.
Yeah.
$400 away that I can get here. And there's mangoes and there's avocados for 50 cents. Hold up. And there's no GMO?
You know what? It goes back to what you said earlier. Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
You're having peace of mind, you know, and it's just like, all right, we're gonna end with the last question. Okay. Why did you start Sermon? And I want to do more work with you on that. Like it's dope. Like it's a dope spot. Like,
hey, thank you. First of all, I want to say right here, I affirm and confirm it. I'm definitely down. I'm with it, gang. Like let's definitely
all right
together. I'm with it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. I started the sermon just like everything else that we talked about from a real natural, organic, a necessary place. I was supposed to sign with, I can't even remember label at this point, and it didn't happen. I think it was Warner Brothers. I was going to be the poster child. So I was going to move to LA. VP at A&R at the publishing company was like, nah, let's do the Warner deal. He didn't fall through again. And he didn't come through again. I thought to myself, I want to start a place where people keep their word. I want to start right? I've seen these that I be jiving with them, then they say some real predatory shit about artists, and I'm like, yo, what? I was like, I want a place free of that. I want a place that is run by the people. I choose a place that is unapologetically raw, honest, Black, queer, punk, hood, is the people, and there's no more red tape. There's no more white man's version of it for their pockets. It's from the people, for the people, straight, no shake like that. Because you know what? These other places I couldn't trust, but I could trust me. True. I know how I get down. So I'll create a place that is that. You can pull up me. We can talk about anything. My paperwork is clean. What's up? So that gets me excited.
Oh, that's dope. Yo, we're gonna end with that, man. Right, cool. Just any shout outs, anything you want to say?
Man, shout out to you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Shout out to you for being here, man.